It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the U.S. of A. and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations. We cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Cruz.
I attended SHOT Show in Las Vegas last week and had the privilege of attending a conservation roundtable that had the leaders of organizations like the Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership, Pheasants Forever, the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, and other groups as well in attendance, along with prominent members of the outdoors media, to include the editors of Outdoor Life, Field and Stream, Sports Afield, Bugle, and the Backcountry Journal. How I got an invite into the room, I don't know, but I'll tell you what, it was a very informative hour. What came out of the meeting was the hope that President Trump was going to be a conservationist in the same mold as President Theodore Roosevelt, and his picks to head the Department of Interior and the Department of Agriculture were both seen as very positive choices in that regard. First-term Congressman Ryan Zinke from Montana has been picked to head the Department of the Interior, which heads agencies like the National Park Service, the Bureau of Land Management, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Zinke is a hunter, and much to the chagrin of his fellow Republicans in the House, he voted against a measure that would have transferred Forest Service and BLM lands to the states, which would result in many of these lands being sold to private interests, with sportsmen and women losing access to them. Meanwhile, former Georgia Governor Sonny Perdue was tapped to lead the Department of Agriculture, which includes the U.S. Forest Service. The National Wild Turkey Foundation said this about the nomination: being an avid outdoorsman, Perdue understands the issues facing hunters, conservationists, and others seeking to conserve our natural resources for future generations. George Thornton, CEO of the Conservation Group, goes on to say Governor Perdue is a longtime friend to the National Wild Turkey Federation and is personally supportive of our Save the Habitat, Save the Hunt initiative. I am confident he will prove to be an outstanding Secretary of Agriculture. So there you are. As we cross the starting line for our next administration, you might say things are looking up for outdoors enthusiasts. This week on the show, we'll take you to the floor of SHOT Show in Las Vegas for the first of a three-part series about why you should visit and maybe even move to Wyoming if you love fishing, hunting, and the outdoors. From there, we'll head to the Pacific Northwest and talk to Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife Commissioner Larry Carpenter about a serious disagreement the states of Washington and Oregon are having about how to manage recreational fisheries and commercial gill netting on the lower Columbia River that borders both states, and what it means to anglers and to the salmon and steelhead fitting their way through there. After that, we'll talk to George Harris with the Northwest Marine Trade Association about the biggest boat show on the West Coast. It's the Seattle Boat Show, and it's going on right now and continuing through the 4th of February. Right after we talk to George, we'll chat with Clint Carey. He's with Hughes Craft, which makes an excellent line of sturdy aluminum boats in the northwestern U.S., and he'll be unveiling what's new for this model year and also tell you about the brand new tricked out boat they are giving away to one lucky person participating in the Northwest Salmon Derby Series this year. We've got outdoors news covering winners in fishing and sled dog racing from Alaska, Tennessee, Florida, and Montana, and then we'll head back to the floor of SHOT Show and tell you about how you can become a certified gunsmith through the American Gunsmithing Institute based out of Napa, California. It promises to be a fun show, and now let's head to the crowded and noisy Sands Expo Center for a SHOT Show interview. Next up on America Outdoors Radio, we're broadcasting from the floor of SHOT Show, and we have the opportunity to talk to the director of Wyoming Game and Fish, Scott Talbot, who's going to tell you a little about some of the reasons you want to come to Wyoming for hunting and fishing. This is going to be a two-part series, and we're going to start off with hunting. Wyoming's very well known. It's one of the best big game hunting states in America. Why is that?
John, you know, we have a lot of animals. Deer, mule deer, white-tailed deer, antelope are very visible, and, those animals are found in varying densities. But, until just recently, we had more antelope than we had people in the state of Wyoming. So the big game animals are abundant, and on the eastern portion of the state, you're looking at more private land and some what I would consider modest trespass fees. And so eastern Wyoming is primarily a non-resident hunt. Residents hunt more on the western portion of the state where there is more public land and more public access to go along with that. But basically, Wyoming is a state that's 50-50 public access or private land. And I would really encourage your listeners to contact a landowner. Most landowners are very amenable to hunters. You know, we have most of our population. We have the highest percentage of people that hunt of anywhere in the country right now. And so, anyway, hunting is great. Come on out. You know, we're experiencing some winter weather right now, which may impact some deer and antelope populations if they don't moderate. But the last 3 years, we've had mild winters, and deer and antelope populations throughout the state have increased significantly. Elk hunting, these are the good old days of elk hunting in Wyoming right now. There isn't an area in Wyoming from the east to west, north to south, where you can't kill a trophy bull, whether that be on a limited quota license or a general license. Elk hunting is superb. And for those who may not want to hire an outfitter, may want to do some of that on their own, we have a lot of antlerless opportunity at a reduced price. And for those guys on a budget that want to come out and hunt, access to hunt cow elk in Wyoming right now, I'm going to say is just short of phenomenal. And as always, call one of our folks. We'd be glad to talk to anybody about hunting in our great state. And there's a huge amount of opportunity for those who want to do it themselves and hunt on public or private land, or those who want to go and install the services of a guide or an outfitter.
Scott, you got me absolutely salivating about the prospect already, and it's winter. There's a long ways to go towards fall. I know late winter, early spring's the time to apply for tags. How tough is it to get a tag, or can you just buy a general license and go out hunting for antelope or some of these other species?
For residents, we still have some general license opportunity, but for non-residents, all limited quota. And John, to tell you, and to be honest with everybody, demand for licenses in Wyoming is increasing significantly. We have seen twofold increases in the number of applicants in the last 2 years. So the word's getting out about Wyoming, about our hunting, about our opportunity, and drawing a license is becoming more and more difficult.
So it sounds to me, if you're a smart guy, you're going to apply not just for an antelope tag, but you're going to apply maybe for a deer tag and maybe for an elk tag too, just in hopes of getting maybe one.
Absolutely, and we have preference points for all of those species for non-residents, and folks can look at that. We have all that online. In addition to that, for those folks who do obtain a license, we now have a hunt planner on our website, and you can go onto that and look up the area that you drew your license in, whether it be deer, elk, or antelope. It will show you public access. It will show you public and private lands. It will give you a map of the area, and we just put that up. It's been up probably 16 or 18 months now. Very, very helpful for those folks who want to come out and hunt on their own. But getting that license, and after that initial draw, I'd certainly want folks to recognize that we have an ISTIASTR process, and then at the end of that, we have a process where folks can get those licenses. So we just keep issuing those licenses until they're all gone, and here of late, they're going pretty quick. So.
All right, so now is the time to start thinking about that Wyoming hunt. Put in for lots of different tags for your best chance to get out there. But as you just heard from Scott, it sounds phenomenal. Just Google Wyoming Game and Fish on the internet. You're going to find their website right away. That's Scott Talbot, folks. He's the director of Wyoming Game and Fish. Thanks so much for taking the time to tell us about this on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
We're going to take a short break where you'll get to hear from our sponsors, but don't go anywhere. We're coming right back to talk to Larry Carpenter. He's a Washington State Fish and Wildlife Commissioner, and he's weighing in on Oregon's decision to go a different direction when it comes to managing salmon fisheries on the Columbia River that borders both states. It promises to be an interesting conversation.
Tillamook Bay is considered the greatest fishing experience on the west coast for fall Chinook salmon and winter steelhead, and Dungeness crab is plentiful. 5 major rivers connect with the ocean on the Tillamook coast. It's not unusual to snag a 40 to 50 pounder. Go out in a boat or stand on a riverbank or dock. Try fishing from a dory boat and experience the thrill of a beach launch and landing. Use spinners, sand shrimp, or salmon eggs to lure them. The fish will line up to grab your bait. Go to tillamookcoast.com/fishing to find guides and places to stay.
Low-limit saltwater salmon fishing got you down? Don't be sad. Head to the mighty Columbia River and get into the great steelhead and salmon fishing going on this year. Mike Salazar with Salt to Summit Guide Service is the man to go fish with. He's got over 25 years experience and knows how to catch a limit of fish. In fact, he's so confident in your success, he'll guarantee a fish. Book your Columbia River trip now at salttosummit.com. That's salt, then the number 2, then summit.com.
Limit out with Kingfisher welded sport fishing boats, the fastest growing brand of heavy gauge welded aluminum boats in the Pacific Northwest. There are 4 new exciting models for 2017. The popular Falcon model is deeper and wider, and walleye anglers will love the 18-foot Warrior. If you want to step up your game in the saltwater, check out the new 22-foot Escape Hardtop and the 23-foot Coastal Express. Fish the good times with Kingfisher welded sport fishing boats. We understand because we fish too. Everyone knows Kodiak Island is one of the best places in Alaska to go fishing. You can pay a lot of money to go with a guide or stay at a lodge, or you can do it yourself. There are over 100 miles of roadway on Kodiak Island leading to streams and lakes full of trout, salmon, and char. How to get there? With Budget of Kodiak. Located at the airport, we offer daily and weekly car rentals, as well as discounts for military and AARP members. Contact Budget of Kodiak and explore.
Backcountry hunters and anglers, the men and women working hard to keep public lands in public hands. Check us out at backcountryhunters.org.
Back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. This portion of the show is brought to you by Northwest Sportsman Magazine. It's the monthly publication that covers the outdoor scene throughout the Pacific Northwest. Look for it at a newsstand near you. Speaking of the Northwest, trouble is brewing on the Columbia River, where the states of Washington and Oregon are having some disagreements about how to manage the commercial and recreational fisheries there. With us here to tell us more about this issue is Larry Carpenter. He serves on the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife Commission, and he also is the owner of Master Marine located in Mount Vernon. Larry, great to have you on the show again.
Oh, good morning. Good morning. Yeah, happy to be on board. It's a beautiful day, and the phone's ringing, and we're getting ready to go do the boat show shortly.
Absolutely, and that is going on now through February 4th, folks, at CenturyLink Field. You definitely want to be there and check out what Master Marine has to offer. But getting back to the Columbia River, let's go back a little bit in time. A couple of years ago, an agreement was reached with both the states of Oregon and Washington that was going to limit gill net fishing outside of the main stem of the lower Columbia and kind of put it in some of the bays and estuaries. And the goal of that was to limit the amount of wild salmon and steelhead that were being caught in these gill nets. However, now that it's time to implement that, Washington and Oregon are taking 2 very different directions. I guess we'll start off with Washington. Has Washington honored the agreement? Have they gone forward? I understand they have.
We have. We had a meeting a week, 10 days ago, and we basically went ahead with full implementation. We made a couple minor changes to help support a limited amount of main stem gill net fishing to help the economic commitment we made to them, and we moved in a very, very conservation-based approach. I mean, very, very conservation-based, and no one can argue against that. And then Oregon basically reneged or whatever. They came up with their own philosophy on how to manage, and I'll tell you, they forgot about conservation when they came up with their newest plan, in my mind.
Not only that, they actually took a step backwards. So there was supposed to be an allocation of, what was it, 20%?
80-20.
Yeah, 80% for recreational fishermen and 20% for gill nets. And Oregon went all the way to a 66% for recreational anglers and a 34% for commercial interests. Is that right?
That's correct. And just to make it clear for your audience, John, the 80-20 doesn't mean the recreational fishermen get 80% of all the fish and the commercials 20. What it relates to is impacts on wild stock. The recreationals are given 80% of the wild stock, and then it's managed in a fashion that we're protecting wild fish, able to release wild fish. But when you release a wild fish, it counts as an impact.
Sure.
So that's the rationale there, and I have yet to figure out. I listened and watched the streaming of last Friday's Oregon Fish and Wildlife Commission, and I'm still yet to figure out how they ended up where they are.
So, question for you here. Oregon and Washington have come up with two very different decisions on how to manage the Columbia River. In the past, it's been co-managed, and the regulations have applied equally for anglers and commercial fishermen. But now with this decision being made by the Oregon Fish Commission, how is this going to impact anglers trying to fish below Bonneville Dam to Astoria? Or do we even know yet?
There's some real uncertainty about how it's going to be managed. I know during the Oregon meeting, the Oregon State Police were asked how they were going to force the boundaries or the difference in the fishing agreements between the individual states. I don't have a clue what's going to happen. We haven't had an issue like this in over 100 years, and I'm told it's going to fall back on what's called the Columbia River Compact, which is basically generated by Article 9 of the U.S. Constitution through a legislative mandate. And if we do that, I think there's a lot of unknowns. So I know that there'll be some legal minds reviewing where we are very shortly. And I don't have the answers yet, but I know what we have now is not particularly manageable by anyone's opinion.
No, and folks, for all of you listening out there, whether or not you're from the Pacific Northwest, just to let you know, in the past, you could buy an Oregon license or you could buy a Washington license, and you could fish anywhere on that river, whether it's on the Oregon side or the Washington side, because it was a co-managed river with the same regulations applying. But now, we're in uncharted territory, literally, and we'll have to see how this all pans out. Turning our attention, Larry, to the North of Falcon process, where the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife is going to sit down with the tribes and try to come up with co-management for fisheries and allocation in Puget Sound. It was kind of a disaster last year. How do you think things are going to go this year?
Well, I sure hope they go better, because I don't think that process last year was good for any of the stakeholders, tribal or non-tribal. I think there was a lot of frustration on both sides of the table, and NOAA was involved, and it just wasn't workable. And the negativity that spread because of that to the fishing community. Frankly, most of the people that I know, they didn't know if there was going to be a season or not, and that reached as far as Westport, El Waco, Vancouver. There was a lot of uncertainty, and we cannot go through that again. And I've tried to make that as clear to the people I work with that we need to reach a reasonably good conclusion and get it done. And I'm hoping we can do that.
There's been a petition that's been circulating around suggesting that the meetings should be open to the public so that they can attend, and in all in the name of transparency. The tribes are not going along with this, but because of the public disclosure laws in Washington State, does this mean that it is going to happen?
Well, the issue is pretty complex. We're dealing with each one of the tribes that we deal with, per the federal government, is a sovereign nation, and they can revert back to what's called government-to-government meetings, which means it's the state and the tribes, and no public can be involved. I don't think they're going to sway from that. I think it would be advantageous if observers were allowed in the meetings from the public. I did that some years ago myself, and I thought it was very helpful. I had a chance to get to know people, both tribal and the tribal staffs, and I get to interact and build relationships and better understand some of the issues. But they've done away with that now, and they have to have concurrent agreement amongst the tribes to do that. So I hope they'll consider that. I think it was particularly helpful some years ago. As far as having the meetings open to the general public, I don't see a pathway forward in that, because I don't think the tribes are going to agree to that.
All right. Last but not least, we're running up on the clock here, but we got about a minute for you to tell us what Masta Marine's going to have at the Seattle Boat Show.
Well, we've got a great selection, John. I appreciate you asking. You know, we've got we specialize in pilot house offshore fishing boats, Sea Sport now, Osprey, Weldcraft. We've also got some, the Thunderjet boats made over in Clarkston, Lunds. And we've pretty much got it all. Crestliners. If we don't have a boat, you're not a fisherman. I'll tell you what. We got 28 boats there, and I think it's will be a nice display to look at. And people that have interest in engaging with one of my staff and learning more about our products and what we can do to help, be more than happy to help.
All right, so look for Master Marine at the Seattle Boat Show. And Larry, thanks as well for trying to sort through the politics of fishing that's happening here in the Northwest. Always appreciate talking to you.
You bet. I'm going to stay the course on it and hopefully make it better. Thank you so much.
Limit out with Kingfisher welded sport fishing boats, the fastest growing brand of heavy gauge welded aluminum boats in the Pacific Northwest. There are 4 new exciting models for 2017. The popular Falcon model is deeper and wider, and walleye anglers will love the 18-foot Warrior. If you want to step up your game in the saltwater, check out the new 22-foot Escape Hardtop and the 23-foot Coastal Express. Fish the good times with Kingfisher welded sport fishing boats. We understand because we fish too.
Oregon's Tillamook Bay is considered the greatest fishing experience on the West Coast for fall Chinook salmon and winter steelhead, and Dungeness crab is plentiful. 5 major rivers connect with the ocean on the Tillamook coast. It's not unusual to snag a 40 to 50 pounder. Go out in a boat or stand on a riverbank or dock. Try fishing from a dory boat and experience the thrill of a beach launch and landing. Use spinners, sand shrimp, or salmon eggs to lure them. The fish will line up to grab your bait. Go to tillamookcoast.com/fishing to find guides and places to stay. Welcome back to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. This portion of the show is brought to you by Northwest Sportsman Magazine. It is the monthly publication that covers the hunting and fishing and outdoor scene throughout the Pacific Northwest. Look for it at a newsstand near you. It is boat show season, and the biggest one happening on the West Coast is the Seattle Boat Show. With us here to tell us about some of the new boats they're going to be debuting this year at the Seattle Boat Show is George Harris, the president of the Northwest Marine Trade Association. George, great to have you back on the show.
Hey, John. Great to be here. Thank you.
So let's talk about what's new in the boat zoo, so to speak. And we'll start off with an Alaska-based company out of Homer Solis Boats. I understand they're going to be there for the first time, and they've got some new boats, too.
That's right. I had a chance to spend some time with Alan Shaw, the owner of the company, this summer on his boats at an event we did. And, there's something about boats that come from Alaska. It seems like they're just done right. And Alan says that he's the first guy to do a rigid-hulled inflatable ever. That's a big claim to fame. And the time I spent on his boat, I think that's the case. So a really solid boat, whether it's a tender or a boat that you want to fish out of, really impressive. So we'll have about 800 boats on display down here. And something that happens down here is we see brand new debuts like this.
Another brand new debut, I understand, comes out of a Port Townsend, Washington-based company, ACI Aluminum Boats. What do they have?
Well, the A in ACI stands for Armstrong. So if somebody's familiar with the aluminum boat building here in Puget Sound in the Northwest, the Armstrong family is sort of legendary. And they're going to have some, I guess you could say, sort of recreational crossover semi-commercial boats that are catamaran. And I just love the Armstrong boats. And they've got a new LumaCat 28 with a center house that's going to be on display at the show here.
You know, I don't think I have ever seen an aluminum catamaran before.
Yeah, they are really impressive, a little more fuel efficient than a monohull. I've fished on some of these up in Alaska before, and they're really impressive.
And speaking of impressive, I understand a very well-known local boat builder, Jim Lindell, has got a brand new boat out that he's built right on Camano Island, which is just not too far from Seattle at all.
No, and I've been a big fan of the Jim Lindell boats for decades. It seems like whatever Jim touches turns into something special. He His hull design is the Skagit Orca, which is really famous here in the Northwest. And then he also builds the Ocean Sport. And now he's got the Lindell Navigator 42, which is, I think, the largest boat he's ever built. And personally, this might be the boat that interests me the most here at the show. It's got the new IPS drives, but a combination of a serious Northwest fishing boat or cruising boat for a couple. I'll be spending some time on that boat.
So what else is new this year at the Seattle Boat Show?
Well, we've also got Pursuits from Islands Marine Center. They've got a new 238 that'll be on display. And then Campion is strong with a new boat. You know, you spend some time out in Puget Sound and you see the Campion Explorer all over the place. That's sort of an iconic Northwest fishing boat. And they've updated that with the 632, and that'll be on display here at the show.
And it's not just Northwest boats that are on display. I understand Stabicraft, they're out of New Zealand, is going to be there as well.
Yeah, that's right. So the Stabicraft, they've been coming to the show for probably the last decade, and their boats have been very well received here in the Northwest. It's a very, very different design. It's an aluminum boat with airtight chambers. So it was developed for kind of the military and government service down in New Zealand, and it's come over here to the Northwest, and it's a real high-end, high-quality performance boat. So some people use them for fishing, or it'll be sort of a commuter boat, you know, to and from the islands.
All right. So we have got to go here pretty quick, but what are the dates for the boat show? And tell me about the Sails and Ales Craft Beer Night.
All right. Well, the show's going to open on Friday, January 27th, and it'll be 9 days, and we'll close up on Saturday, February 4th. And then on Friday, February 3rd is something we call Sails and Ales Craft Beer Night. So we'll have 10 microbrews from the Northwest set up, and for $15, you can come in, buy your tasting glass. You get 6 tasting tokens. You can cruise around from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. when we close and taste 10 different microbrews. We like to say props and hops or sails and nails, whatever floats your boat to keep the cliches going.
Sounds like a great time to me. Folks, if you want to find out more about the biggest boat show on the West Coast, go to seattleboatshow.com. Again, the website is seattleboatshow.com. If you're into boating and you live anywhere in the western U.S., you don't want to miss this. George, thanks for telling us all about this on America Outdoors Radio.
You bet. Thanks, John.
Next up on America Outdoors Radio, we're sticking with the Seattle Boat Show, but now we're turning our attention to a great, and I mean a great, aluminum boat company. It's called Hughescraft. They're based in Colville, Washington. They're going to be at the Seattle Boat Show, and with us here to tell us about the boat that's going to be given away as part of the Northwest Salmon Derby Series is Clint Carey. Clint, welcome to the show.
Hey, John, good to talk to you again.
So, Clint, every year, Hughescraft basically donates or gives a boat away to somebody who's participating in the Northwest Salmon Derby Series. This is a series of tournaments that takes place primarily in Puget Sound, and it's very rare that you have a tournament where you don't have to be the winner to win a boat. Just by fishing in the tournament, you're entered for a chance to win a great boat. Tell us more.
That's true. Any entry into any one of the Northwest Salmon Derby Series events is entered into the drawing at the end of the year for this year, a 22-foot Ocean Pro with an extended transom and a rigid soft-top canvas enclosure. So that boat is outfitted right now with a 250-horse Honda and all kinds of other goodies from some of our other sponsors who partnered up with us and the Northwest Salmon Derby Series. It's a fantastic boat, and it is available for viewing. Anybody who wants to see it at the Seattle Boat Show throughout the show. And
I'll tell you what, this sounds fantastic. In addition to the Honda 250, you've got the 9.9 kicker, you've got a easy loader trailer, you've got Scotty downriggers, Raymarine electronics, and even a dual stereo system. I understand this boat, I'm taken together, retails for $85,000.
That is true, with all of the goodies that all of our sponsors have added to that boat, including some of those items that you just mentioned. It brings it to the highest value boat ever given away by the Northwest Marine Trade Association for the Salmon Derby Series.
And again, folks, the great thing about this boat and your chance to win is you don't have to win any of the tournaments. I mean, you win a tournament, you're going to get some good cash prizes, but just for participating in one of the many events taking place this year, you were entered for a chance to win this $85,000 boat. What else does Hughescraft have that's new this year that's going to be displayed at the Seattle Boat Show?
Well, one of the things that we always do is we like to feature some of our new features and options on the boat that we're giving away for the Salmon Derby series. So a lot of the new things are featured in the Ocean Pro lineup of boats. Our dealer that will be working the Seattle show is Tom and Jerry's, a wonderful boat dealer. They will have for sale and also for the perusal of anyone who's there at their booth, a couple of different setups for the Ocean Pro hull that we've offered for this year. So a couple of the new things are we now offer, instead of just a 22-foot version of that boat, a 24. And
nice.
All of the length that's been added to that boat is aft of the furthest back seats in that boat. So every bit of it is fishing space behind the center of that boat. We also offer now two different top options, a traditional collapsible canvas top, as well as a welded but covered in canvas rigid top that can be trailered without having to be taken down. Now, both of those are completely removable, and the rigid welded soft top is also completely removable and stowable in your garage if you're taking that thing down and parking it for the winter. So some convenience added to some of the versatility of those new tops. We, of course, still have our traditional full hard top with either a drop curtain, aft enclosure, or the full lockable Alaskan-style bulkhead door. So a lot of additions to that Ocean Pro.
Oh, sounds fantastic. So, folks, if you want to check out what's new with Hughescraft and check out the Salmon Derby Series boat that's going to be given away, go to the Seattle Boat Show. It's going on now through February 4th, and this is a huge show taking place at CenturyLink Field. There's shuttles that'll take you down to Lake Union to see even more. You don't want to miss this. In addition to the boats, there's seminars, and there's all sorts of other events. Find out more at seattleboatshow.com and find out more about Hughescraft at hughescraft.com. That's HEWES craft.com. Clint, thanks for telling us all about this on America Outdoors Radio.
John, it's always good to talk to you. See you soon.
Tillamook Bay is considered the greatest fishing experience on the west coast for fall Chinook salmon and winter steelhead, and Dungeness crab is plentiful. 5 major rivers connect with the ocean on the Tillamook coast. It's not unusual to snag a 40 to 50 pounder. Go out in a boat or stand on a riverbank or dock. Try fishing from a dory boat and experience the thrill of a beach launch and landing. Use spinners, sand shrimp, or salmon eggs to lure them. The fish will line up to grab your bait. Go to tillamookcoast.com/fishing to find guides and places to stay.
Low-limit saltwater salmon fishing got you down? Don't be sad. Head to the mighty Columbia River and get into the great steelhead and salmon fishing going on this year. Mike Salazar with Salt to Summit Guide Service is the man to go fish with. He's got over 25 years experience and knows how to catch a limit of fish. In fact, he's so confident in your success, he'll guarantee a fish. Book your Columbia River trip now at salttosummit.com. That's salt, then the number 2, then summit.com.
Everyone knows Kodiak Island is one of the best places in Alaska to go fishing. You can pay a lot of money to go with a guide or stay at a lodge, or you can do it yourself. There are over 100 miles of roadway on Kodiak Island leading to streams and lakes full of trout, salmon, and char. How to get there? With Budget of Kodiak. Located at the airport, we offer daily and weekly car rentals, as well as discounts for military and AARP members. Contact Budget of Kodiak and explore.
Looking for the safest, most stable riding boat on the market? Welcome to Stabicraft. Born in New Zealand, Stabicraft has a built-in reputation for making the most seaworthy boats on the market. Heavy-gauge aluminum chambered boats with models ranging from 14 to 29 feet in a variety of configurations to suit all your needs. Check out the all-new 2750 center cab, a walk-around design for the Northwest market and packed with industry-leading features to suit all types of fishing, allowing you to adventure with confidence. Book a test ride today at Stabicraft.com.
Limit out with Kingfisher welded sport fishing boats, the fastest growing brand of heavy gauge welded aluminum boats in the Pacific Northwest. There are 4 new exciting models for 2017. The popular Falcon model is deeper and wider, and walleye anglers will love the 18-foot Warrior. If you want to step up your game in the saltwater, check out the new 22-foot Escape Hardtop and the 23-foot Coastal Express. Fish the good times with Kingfisher welded sport fishing boats. We understand because we fish too.
Oregon's Tillamook Bay is considered the greatest fishing experience on the West Coast for fall Chinook salmon and winter steelhead, and Dungeness crab is plentiful. 5 major rivers connect with the ocean on the Tillamook coast. It's not unusual to snag a 40 to 50 pounder. Go out in a boat or stand on a riverbank or dock. Try fishing from a dory boat and experience the thrill of a beach launch and landing. Use spinners, sand shrimp, or salmon eggs to lure them. The fish will line up to grab your bait. Go to tillamookcoast.com/fishing to find guides and places to stay. You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz, and this portion of the show is brought to you by the Alaska Sporting Journal. It is the monthly publication that covers the outdoor scene throughout the great state of Alaska. Look for it at a newsstand near you. We've got some news about winners, you might say, this week, and we'll start off by telling you about a new state record that's being verified by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency regarding a huge perch that was caught there. The fish in question measured 15.5 inches long. It weighed 2 pounds, 3 ounces. It was caught by Trent McCoy in Lake Dartmoor, just north of Crossville on Monday, January 16th. The previous record, a 2 pound, 2 ounce yellow perch, has stood since 2010, but it looks like this one is going to just edge it out. Turning our attention to several competitions taking place around the United States the past couple of weeks, Jesse Wiggins, a 27-year-old angler hailing from Alabama, just won his second career bass tournament. His first win was last year on one of his Alabama home waters, Smith Lake. This year, he again won the Southern Open, but this time it was on Florida's Harris chain of lakes. Wiggins' 3-day mark of 59 pounds, 4 ounces was just over a pound better than that of second-place finisher John Pollard. Wiggins' weapon of choice? A Jenko crankbait. Wiggins earned a package including cash and a nitro boat valued at over $51,000 for his victory. He also claimed a spot in the 2018 Geico Bassmaster Classic, which is the first berth awarded for the event this season. A different sort of fishing tournament took place this month at Hagbin Lake near West Yellowstone, Montana. It was the North American Ice Fishing Championship with a guaranteed $10,000 payout to the first place team. 71 teams competed this year, and the winners were Mike Howe and Jason Mundell, 2 Montana anglers who also happen to be fishing guides who take clients out for ice fishing forays in northwestern Montana. And sticking with cold weather sports, we head to Bethel, Alaska, where hometown hero Pete Kaiser made it a three-peat, winning the Kuskokwim 300 sled dog race last weekend and taking home a first-place prize purse of $25,000. The 287-mile race took place over a 2-day period, and temperatures dipping down to 40 degrees below zero. In fact, the temperature at the finish line on Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m. was minus 51 degrees with the wind chill factored in. This is an event where you not only have to be tough to be a competitor, but also tough to be a fan waiting at the finish line to cheer on the 19 mushers and dogs competing in this event. Welcome back to America Outdoors Radio. It's our SHOT Show edition, and this portion of the show is brought to you by California Sportsman Magazine. It's the monthly publication covering fishing, hunting, and the shooting sports in the great state of California. Speaking of the shooting sports, we are talking with Gene Kelly. He's with the American Gunsmithing Institute, based out of Napa, California, and they offer a gunsmithing course that's a little different than most, where you can get your certification and you don't have to travel anywhere to do it. Gene, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on the show.
So, Gene, tell me the basics and the 30-second elevator speech about the American Gunsmithing Institute. What do you offer?
Well, the American Gunsmithing Institute was developed over 20 years ago to meet the needs for individuals that want to become gunsmiths, certified gunsmiths, but don't have the ability to leave home and travel. They can study at home because they're already working a job, and they need that employment and that income. So they can get started gunsmithing part-time and go to full-time or even a retirement income, making money doing something they really love.
Is there a lot of demand for gunsmiths these days? Is this a viable career path?
Absolutely. You know, there's over 100 million firearms that have been sold in the last 5 years, and hundreds of millions before that. All of those guns, figure at any given time, 10% of them need maintenance, repair, or customizing. It's an incredible pool. We need literally thousands and thousands of gunsmiths, part or full-time, right now, just to service the need, the demand.
Now, there are gunsmithing schools out there. I know there's one in Trinidad, Colorado, where folks actually go and attend it like you would a college. Yours is a little different.
Well, you know, I actually attended one of those campus-based schools many years ago. I spent 2.5 years at the school. Now, I was very fortunate because I worked under Master Gunsmith Bob Dunlap, and he was the only instructor in the United States that taught a unique system that he developed called Design, Function, and Repair. Basically, you can't fix it if you don't understand how it works. And most schools don't teach it. As a matter of fact, no other school teaches this. We have the exclusive system because Master Gunsmith Bob Dunlap worked with us to develop this and preserve it for the next generation. And what is so unique about this, again, you don't have to leave home because you study this all on video, step by step, both online and offline on DVD. And you'll see actually close up what's happening within the firearm. And once you understand the design and the function, then you can make the appropriate repair. Anybody else is just a part swapper.
Very interesting. So what we talked about off the mic, you demonstrated this really well, is that because of your video and DVD system, you're able to really focus in on specific parts of the firearm, specific systems of the firearm, and enable the student to understand, again, not just the part itself, but how the mechanism works and why it's not working.
Absolutely. So you don't have to go to school to get that understanding somewhere else. You can get it right at home and build your own business on the side or grow it. But what we teach is design, function, repair. What I mean by that is we'll take something, say, like a 1911, very common platform, and we'll teach about the lockup, and we'll be able to show you exactly with cutaway guns how all of that works. And then the firing pins, what are the proper shapes, lengths, and so on. What's the extractor supposed to do? And on the Sears system, the hammer, on each model of firearm. So when we go from the 1911 to the Browning High Power, well, that goes from a link system lockup to a cam lock system, and so on. You will be able to, after you've completed this course, and these are certified courses, you'll be able to pick up any firearm, even one you've never seen before, analyze the systems, and therefore be able to determine what is wrong and make the appropriate repair. That's a real gunsmith. And quite honestly, most of the other schools are teaching the same way they did 50 or 100 years ago. It's number of hours, butt and seat, okay? Thinking that somehow sticking around a lot's going to get you there. And they do machining, they do woodworking. Well, we teach that too, on top of the design, function, repair, how to fully customize, and so on. All of that's available now in a modern sense, delivered right to the student at home, and they could study it as often as they need to. You only retain a small amount of what you learn in a classroom. Plus, in a classroom, if you're lucky, you get a few minutes of instruction, and then they're teaching the slowest person in class. You can't see something from the front row that we can show you really close up, and it's just disjointed. With ours, they can look up a problem whenever it occurs and do a quick review.
This sounds fantastic. So, folks, if you want to be a gunsmith and learn how to do it from home, the American Gunsmithing Institute is for you. Let's give out the website so folks can find out more.
So if they want to get an information package on gunsmithing, becoming a gunsmith, go to www.americangunsmithinginstitute.net. And we'll send you a complete package, including a free DVD that's got an information lesson already on it. Or if they're just interested in one firearm, say I have a 1911 or a Glock or an AR, and I want to learn a lot about that gun, we have armors courses that are very in-depth, run about 2 hours in length, and only about $40 and that can be found at AmericanGunsmith.com.
All right, so 2 websites, AmericanGunsmithingInstitute.net if you want to learn to be a certified gunsmith. If you just want to go into depth about one firearm, AmericanGunsmith.com. Again, AmericanGunsmithingInstitute.net if you want to learn to be a gunsmith and a certified one to boot from your very own home. Gene, thanks for telling us all about this on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you very much, Sean.
We hope you enjoyed this week's broadcast. If you find yourself in the Northwest this weekend, drop on by the Washington Sportsman Show at the Fairgrounds in Puyallup. We've got a booth there, and we'd love to see you. We'll be located right next to our sponsor in the Northwest Sportsman Magazine booth. If you're on the web, drop by our website, AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. You can listen to a podcast of a recent show and find out what's coming up in the week ahead. We've got a Facebook page, too. You'll find it at America Outdoors Radio. And you can also tune into our show online through WRVO Radio. The website for that, RenoViolaOutdoors.com. It's an internet station dedicated to outdoors programming throughout North America. We are part of the lineup, so is our sister show, Northwestern Outdoors Radio. That's RenoViolaOutdoors.com. We've got to get back to the Washington Sportsman Show, but until next week, I hope the good Lord blesses you greatly, and remember, it's your country and your outdoors.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, a nationwide group working to keep public lands in public hands. We've helped ban the use of drones for hunting. We help repair wildlife corridors in key riparian areas. We speak up against illegal ATV use. Please join this dynamic conservation group. Check us out at backcountryhunters.org.